How MCC assessment works. MCC evaluation is the most demanding work in the credentialing series. The question shifts from is the behavior present to has the methodology dissolved into artistry. In this video, we walk through the MCC assessment model, how the BARS framework is applied at the MCC level, what the rating options measure, how the ICF Disqualifiers clause works, and how qualitative judgment replaces numerical scoring. Compare the assessment models. ACC uses a scoring algorithm. Rate each statement, average within competency, average across competencies, subtract 1, multiply by 2, pass when the result is 2.8 or higher. The math gives you certainty. PCC moves to qualitative assessment. No formula. Professional judgment about marker depth and consistency. MCC stays with qualitative assessment, but raises the bar. Assessor consensus across multiple reviewers. Holistic evaluation taken as a whole. No scoring formula at any layer of the process. The performance evaluation submission depends on the application path. The MCC portfolio path requires 1 recording. The MCC Level 3 path requires 2 recordings. Each is a complete coaching session between 20 and 60 minutes, not edited. At least 2 trained ICF assessors review each recording independently without coordinating during the review process. The outcome is binary. Pass or below passing standard. Pass requires majority assessor consensus that the coaching demonstrates effective use of the ICF core competencies at the MCC level and aligns with the ICF Code of Ethics. Taken as a whole is the key phrase. A recording might have individual moments at below and moments at exceeds. The determination is about overall quality. Does this session holistically represent MCC level coaching? Assessors rate each behavioral statement using the MCC BARS rating options. Exceeds the standard, meets the standard, below the standard, does not meet the standard, plus NA in the rare cases where the behavior had no opportunity to appear. The MCC BARS resource guide assigns no numerical positions to the options. Assessors use the qualitative anchors directly. There is no MCC equivalent of the ACC scoring algorithm's 2.8 threshold. The assessor rates each statement with evidence, reviews the pattern across all competencies, considers the 3 evaluator considerations, and makes a professional determination about mastery. This is the most judgment-reliant assessment in the credentialing system, and it is why your calibration practice across modules 7 through 9 is not supplementary learning. It is the skill that makes your professional evaluation reliable. The MCC BARS resource guide enumerates the C1 behaviors inconsistent. Clear violation of the ICF Code of Ethics. The coach's focus is primarily on telling the client what to do or how to do it. Consulting mode. The conversation is based primarily on the past, particularly the emotional past. Therapeutic mode. Or the coach primarily gives advice or tells the client what to do throughout the session. The ICF Disqualifiers clause is identical text in the ACC, PCC, and MCC candidate guides. Recordings may be disqualified if the assessor finds evidence of an ethics breach or evidence the coach more than occasionally steps into a role other than coach. The MCC source is the level that explicitly enumerates the failure modes the assessor weighs against that clause. The qualifier primarily, and the phrase throughout the session, is what activates the clause's application. Brief step-outs from coaching happen naturally in any real session and do not invoke it. A moment of sharing relevant expertise or exploring an emotion does not trigger disqualification. Sustained departure from the coaching role does. For your candidates, they need to understand where the line falls. The ICF credentialing exam is separate from the performance evaluation. Candidates must pass the performance evaluation first before being authorized to schedule the exam. 81 situational judgment items, 3 hours total, 177 minutes for the items themselves. Computer-based, delivered through Pearson VUE either at a test center or remote proctored. The exam asks the candidate to select the best response and the worst response for each scenario. Scaled score from 200 to 600. Passing score is 460. All 8 competencies are weighted roughly equally, between 12 and 13% each. C2, coaching mindset, carries the full weight of its evaluation here in the exam, since it is not assessed in the performance evaluation. Why no published scoring threshold at MCC? ACC tests whether behaviors are present, a question that numbers can answer. MCC tests whether methodology has dissolved into artistry, a question that numbers cannot answer. A threshold of 3.5 would create perverse outcomes. A session with 1 below rating that drags the average down might be MCC level mastery taken as a whole. A session that hits 3.5 by being uniformly meets across all statements without any artistry moment might not be. The deliberate design is qualitative consensus among multiple experienced assessors, taking the session as a whole. The field recognizes that artistry cannot be captured in a formula. This is also why your calibration practice is essential. The assessment model places the burden on judgment rather than arithmetic. You will not administer a performance evaluation, but you will prepare candidates. Understanding the assessment model lets you translate observations into developmental language. Assessors would likely see C7 at meets, but C4 at below. Here is the specific evidence. That kind of precision comes from knowing the system your client is preparing for. You can use the MCC BARS rating anchors directly with your candidate. Meets the standard, exceeds the standard. The vocabulary is the same vocabulary your candidate will encounter from assessors. At ACC, the scoring algorithm gives you certainty. At PCC, qualitative judgment asks more of the evaluator. Depth and consistency, professional judgment without a formula to fall back on. At MCC, the bar rises again. Assessor consensus across multiple reviewers. The ICF Disqualifiers clause weighed against explicitly enumerated C1 failure modes. Holistic professional judgment about whether the coaching taken as a whole demonstrates MCC level mastery. Calibration, not checklists, is what makes MCC evaluation reliable. That is the work you have been training for across modules 7 through 9. The next video covers how you bring that calibration into developmental conversation with your MCC candidate.